The staff room was a sanctuary of order, bathed in the sharp, clean light of a San Francisco morning. Eleanor Foster adjusted the crisp collar of her uniform, the badge reading, Head of Cleaning, Catching the Sun. For over a decade, she had been the unseen architect of order in the Hartwell Tower, her pride woven into the very fabric of the gleaming high-rise. "Miss Eleanor, you're early again," her colleague Maria called out. "A special detail on the 26th floor today," Eleanor replied, her smile warm but efficient. The Hartwell Corporation's executive boardroom. She moved with a quiet authority, distributing work lists from her meticulously stocked cart. Her team respected her not just for her first-class techniques, but for the genuine care she embedded in her work, a care that had earned her multiple exemplary staff awards and the deep trust of the building's elite tenants. As her team dispersed to their floors, a familiar anxiety crept in. Eleanor checked her phone. Still no message from Vanessa. The news of her sister's engagement to Richard Hartwell, scion of a corporate dynasty, had come via their mother a week ago. The silence since felt like a chasm widening between them, a distance measured in social standing and in spoken shame. That evening, the air in her mother's suburban house was thick with the scent of ambition and old resentments. Eleanor found Margaret and Vanessa in the living room, a war room of wedding planning. Seating charts and fabric swatches were strewn across the coffee table like battle plans. "Eleanor, you should have called," Margaret said, her tone a familiar blend of irritation and dismissal. Vanessa rose, offering a brittle hug. "It's been a while." "Congratulations on your engagement," Eleanor said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Is Richard Hartwell from the Hartwell Corporation?" "Yes," Vanessa answered, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "Jonathan Hartwell's only son. His father is a wonderful man." Eleanor's breath caught. Jonathan Hartwell. A name and a face she knew from the building's directory. The man whose offices she maintained with such pride. "The wedding is next month. The 15th, Margaret interjected, not looking up from a floral arrangement proposal. "We're incredibly busy." Eleanor took a steadying breath. "I haven't received an invitation yet." The room went still. The rustle of paper ceased. Margaret and Vanessa exchanged a loaded glance, a silent conversation of long-held anxieties. "Eleanor," Vanessa began, her voice faltering. "About the invitations," Margaret cut in, her voice unnervingly calm. "We're still finalizing the list. The Hartwells are a very prestigious family. There are expectations." "What are you trying to say, Mom?" Margaret sighed, a theatrical sound of put upon burden. "To be frank, your occupation is an issue." "My occupation?" Eleanor's voice was low, but it vibrated with hurt. "I am the head of cleaning for one of the most prestigious addresses in the city. I take pride in that." "It's not a matter of pride. It's a matter of perception," her mother countered. "We've told them you're in corporate facilities management." Eleanor stared, the words not quite computing. "You lied?" "It's a strategic presentation," Margaret corrected, her words slick and practiced. Vanessa found her voice, a desperate whisper. "The Hartwells think my sister is." "We've told them you passed away," Margaret finished, her voice cold and final. "A car accident, 10 years ago. We don't want them to know they're marrying into a family with a cleaner for a daughter." The words hit Eleanor with physical force, stealing the air from her lungs. The world narrowed to the two faces before her, so familiar yet suddenly alien. "This is Vanessa's chance, her only chance," Margaret said, her voice devoid of the warmth a mother should possess. "Please understand." Eleanor stood, her legs feeling numb. The lump in her throat was a stone she refused to let break her voice. "I understand," she said, the words quiet and precise. "I'm not ashamed of my job, but you should be ashamed of yourselves." She turned and walked out, leaving the house of lies behind, the phantom of her own death hanging in the air. 3 days later, the rhythmic swipe of the cloth across her apartment window was a meditation, a desperate attempt to scrub the pain from her heart. "We've told them you passed away." The words had carved a hollow space inside her. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman in a simple t-shirt, surrounded by the small, proud home she had built herself. On the walls hung her certificates of recognition, not accolades for wealth or status, but for integrity and skill. The doorbell shattered the silence. Through the peephole, she saw them, her mother, a statue of resolve, and Vanessa, a vision of designer anxiety. Eleanor's heart clenched, but she opened the door. Big sister. Vanessa's voice was artificially bright. Sorry to intrude. Eleanor wordlessly let them in. Margaret's gaze swept the room. Tidier than last time, she noted, the compliment a thinly veiled critique of the apartment's modest size. We've come to talk, Eleanor, Margaret began, bypassing any pretense of pleasantries. About what? The details of my non-existence? Don't be dramatic, her mother chided. This is about Vanessa's future. Vanessa leaned forward, her eyes pleading. Richard's family, they're traditional. His father is particular about appearances. Please, don't come to the wedding. Tell me why, Eleanor pressed, her voice dangerously quiet. I want to hear you say it. I don't want people to know I have a sister who's a cleaner, Vanessa whispered, the confession hanging in the air, ugly and bare. Is my honest work so shameful? Your work is commendable, Margaret interjected, but the Hartwells can elevate this entire family. Don't ruin this with your ego. My ego? Eleanor's composure finally cracked. Wanting to be acknowledged by my own family as ego? Please, Vanessa begged, tears welling, just for a little while. Pretend you don't exist for us. Eleanor rose, her tears now ones of cold, clear fury. I can't believe a family could be so ashamed of their own blood, she said, her voice trembling with a newfound strength. You think you're building a future, but you're building it on a foundation of lies, and lies have a way of collapsing. She looked from her sister's desperate face to her mother's impassive one. Get out, and don't come back. As the door closed behind them, the strength fled her body. She collapsed onto the sofa, and the sobs she had held back for years finally broke free. In the glow of the setting sun, her tears traced golden paths down her cheeks. Her gaze fell upon her certificates, her proof of worth. I am not wrong, she whispered to the silent, honest room. 1 week before the wedding, a marine layer fog clung to the city. Eleanor buried herself in the one thing that had never betrayed her, her work. The annual deep cleaning of Hartwell Tower was a monumental task, and she was its commanding general. Pay extra attention to the executive floors, she instructed her team. The Hartwell Corporation has a board meeting soon. By 10 a.m., she was on the 26th floor, polishing the vast windows until they were invisible. The city emerged from the fog, a promise of clarity. A magnificent view, isn't it? Eleanor turned. The man in the impeccably tailored suit was Jonathan Hartwell. Her breath hitched, a complex cocktail of professional pride and personal pain surging within her. Mr. Hartwell, she offered a respectful nod. Good morning. Good morning, he said, his smile genuine. Thank you for your hard work. It's always impeccable up here. It's our privilege, sir, especially today, for the deep clean. Eleanor Foster, he said, reading her badge. The management speaks very highly of you, over a decade of service. She was taken aback. I love this job. That's the foundation of everything, Jonathan said, his gaze turning reflective as he looked out over the city he owned. I started with a mop and a bucket in my father's small warehouse. There is dignity in building from the ground up. The statement was so unexpected, so antithetical to the world her family had described, that Eleanor felt a knot of tension loosen in her chest. Now you own the skyline, she said. Now I own the skyline, he agreed with a soft laugh, which is why I never forget the people who keep it shining. He paused. Actually, my son is getting married next week. Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. Congratulations, she managed. Thank you. His fiancée is a lovely girl, Vanessa Foster. He turned his keen gaze back to her. Foster, it's not a common name. Any relation? The moment stretched, infinite and terrible. The lie her family had built waited for her to cement it. She looked at this man who valued her work, who understood starting from the bottom, and she found she could not betray herself. She met his eyes, her voice clear and steady. No, sir, she said, it must be a coincidence. This response is AI-generated, for reference only. Yes, when Richard heard about your passing, Jonathan continued, his voice softening with a genuine regret that twisted in Eleanor's chest. He told me, I wish her sister were still alive. Family is everything. Eleanor's professional smile felt like a crack in porcelain. The lie was a physical weight, made heavier by the unexpected kindness in this powerful man's eyes. To tell the truth now would be to detonate the very foundation of Vanessa's future. She remained silent, her guilt a private storm. "I've interrupted your work," Jonathan said, his smile returning. "Please, carry on. I hope we speak again, Miss Foster." He left her there, the hum of the polished city below a dull roar in her ears. Her heart was a tangle of pride and deceit. On the morning of the wedding, Eleanor's small apartment was a refuge of quiet determination. The sky was a sheet of pale gray, mirroring her resolve to remain detached. She held a book she wasn't reading, her coffee cooling beside her. "They are dressing now," she thought. Vanessa in her gown, mother fastening the pearls of their deception. Her phone shattered the silence. It buzzed again and again. Vanessa. Margaret. Unknown numbers, a frantic Morse code of panic. On the 7th ring, she answered. "Eleanor." Vanessa's voice was a raw, broken thing. "Where are you?" "At home. Where I was told to be. You have to come. The wedding, it's falling apart." A cold, unexpected calm settled over Eleanor. "And why would my presence help? I'm a ghost, remember?" "Jonathan," Vanessa choked out. "He knows. He met you at the tower last week. He's furious we lied. Richard is, he's looking at me like he doesn't know me. Eleanor, please." The memory of her conversation with Jonathan flashed, his respect for her work, his story of starting with a mop. He hadn't just been making conversation, he'd been connecting dots. "He said you're the most trusted staff member he has." Vanessa wept. "He said a family should be proud to have you. He called us liars." The irony was so perfect it was cruel. The integrity she'd clung to, the very thing they'd scorned, was now the only thing that could save them. "Where?" Eleanor asked, her voice quiet and firm. "The Fairmont. Please, hurry." "I'm not coming for you," Eleanor stated, already moving toward her closet. "I'm coming for the truth." The navy silk dress felt like armor. In the back of the taxi, the Fairmont Hotel loomed, a palace of white on Nob Hill. As she stepped out, a wave of anxiety threatened to buckle her knees. She called her friend, Sophia. "I'm here," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I can walk in." "You can." Sophia's voice was a steady anchor. "You walk into a building every day and command respect. Walk into this one and claim your name." Fortified, Eleanor entered the grand lobby. The opulence was a stark contrast to the simple honesty of her work. She followed the signs to the grand ballroom, where a cluster of guests outside the doors fell into a hushed, awkward silence at her approach. Inside, the scene was a frozen tableau of disaster. Vanessa, a vision in white with a face ravaged by tears, stood flanked by a stony-faced Margaret. Across the aisle, the Hartwells formed a wall of displeasure. Jonathan's expression was one of profound disappointment, while Richard looked utterly lost. Margaret spotted her first. "Eleanor," she hissed, rushing over, Vanessa in her wake. "What are you doing? You'll make it worse." "You begged me to come," Eleanor replied, her voice cutting through the tension. "To fix this, not to gloat." Margaret's whisper was venomous. Eleanor looked past her mother, directly at Vanessa. "You can't fix a lie with more lies." She gently moved past them and walked toward Jonathan Hartwell. His stern expression shifted to one of quiet recognition. "Miss Foster, it seems the reports of your demise were greatly exaggerated." "Mr. Hartwell," she said, her voice clear and carrying in the hushed room. She ignored the gasps from the Foster side of the aisle. "I owe you an apology. The woman you met last week, the one who takes pride in her work, that is the real me. My family was ashamed of my profession as head of cleaning at your tower. They believed a dead sister was more palatable than a living one who works with her hands." The silence in the ballroom was absolute. Jonathan looked from Eleanor's steady gaze to Vanessa's shame-filled one. "We built our company on the backs of people who aren't afraid of hard work," he said, his voice resonating with authority. "To learn that my son was being deceived by the very family he sought to join, that is what I find unpalatable." Richard stepped forward, his eyes pained but clear. "Vanessa, is this true, all of it?" Vanessa could only manage a tearful nod. "I was scared. I thought you'd reject me. I fell in love with you," Richard said, his voice soft but firm. "Not your family's fictional pedigree." Margaret, her carefully constructed world crumbling, finally spoke, her voice stripped of its usual pretension. "The fault is mine." She looked at Eleanor, and for the first time, there was something resembling remorse in her eyes. I taught my daughters to chase reflections instead of substance. I was ashamed of the very honesty that put food on our table. I failed you, Eleanor. It was a confession Eleanor never thought she'd hear. The victory felt hollow, but the air felt cleaner. Jonathan placed a hand on his son's shoulder. The ceremony is postponed, not cancelled, but a marriage, like a business, must be built on an honest foundation. 6 months later, the laughter in Eleanor's apartment was genuine. The scent of roasted chicken and herbs filled the air, and the setting sun cast a golden glow over the reunited family. A toast, Richard said, raising his glass. To truth, however uncomfortable it may be. To truth, they echoed, glasses clinking. The path to this dinner had not been easy. Richard and Vanessa had spent months in counseling, learning to communicate without filters. Margaret, freed from the prison of her own ambition, had started volunteering, finding purpose in helping others rather than impressing them. Try this, Eleanor, Vanessa said, passing a dish. It's that recipe you liked. The competitive edge was gone from her voice, replaced by a sisterly warmth they were both relearning. And you, Eleanor said, turning to her mother, tell them about the community board. A genuine smile touched Margaret's lips. They've asked me to chair the outreach committee. It seems my talent for organization is better suited to building people up than building facades. As coffee was served, Vanessa slid a cream-colored envelope across the table to Eleanor. This came for you. Eleanor opened it. The invitation was elegant and simple. Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan Hartwell request the pleasure of your company at the marriage of their son, Richard, to Vanessa Foster. And specially, we invite our sister, Eleanor Foster, without whom this honest beginning would not be possible. Tears, warm and unburdened, filled Eleanor's eyes. She looked out the window at the glittering skyline of San Francisco, at the tower she helped keep shining. The truth had been painful, but it had scrubbed their lives clean, leaving behind something strong and real, ready to be built upon.